Well, it's a beautiful Monday at City National Arena, and Vegas Golden Knight fans are all smiles after a big weekend at the Fortress. Live from Studio 31, this is Nighttime at Noon alongside Darren Eliot. I'm Brian McCormack. We've got Daniel Smythe on the other side of the glass. Ryan Floyd in here as well. Broadcast experts all around the building to bring you the key storylines of a Western Conference final that has now shifted to Dallas for Game 3, and a series that the Golden Knights have a firm hold of after winning the first two games at the Fortress. You can follow along with us not only on Fox Sports Las Vegas, as many of you already are, but on the VGK digital channels as well. And we've got plenty to cover, of course. Game 1 and 2 success. We're going to hear plenty of sound from head coach Bruce Cassidy, from Mark Stone and Ivan Barbashev as well. Everyone had something to say before getting on the plane to head to Dallas. And we'll have some discussion about the rest of the hockey world as well. There's a pretty good series going on out east as well. But, Darren, I think we all had a sense of what this series might look like between the Golden Knights and Dallas Stars heading into this past weekend. We assumed it was going to be tight, fight for every inch, two really disciplined, structured teams. I feel like we got exactly what we were expecting.
So far, and we hope that it carries through just this way as well. We just flashed the graphic up there on the digital side to show where we are with on the other side. Is it what they expected? Florida winning both? Probably not. No. Overtime, tight checking, low event. That's what we thought it would be, and that's what it's been so far. But we've come out on the right side of the equation and the score both times. So far, so good.
And to your point, 2 overtime games out west, 2 overtime games out east. We got off a little later than they did out in Raleigh because we only had to deal with a grand total of I'd say about 3 minutes of overtime.
Is there anything better than winning on home ice in overtime when it's less than 2 minutes? So you get all the build-up and you get the immediate payoff. It's like,
be efficient about it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
You get the highlight to watch all day at work the next day, but you didn't have to hang around too long for it. But, it was Brett Houghton in Game 1. It was Chandler Stevenson in Game 2. But in both instances, again, you phrased it perfectly. It was a low-event weekend. If you talk about the comparison out east, I don't know if overtime for games 1 and 2 between the Hurricanes and Panthers is what people were expecting, but if it was, I think they thought it was going to be a higher event situation. They've been playing the similar grinded out style, and what I'm kind of coming around to is that in this postseason, and the last 2 years, we've been in an era of high scoring hockey. Yep. Goals are up as much as they've been in 30 years. You kind of expect in the playoffs you're going to revert back to that grind, fight for every inch style, get a little bit more 90s type style. We really didn't get it in rounds 1 or 2 either. It stayed high flying. It stayed high event. But now we're seeing a bit of a, this looks a little more like 2014, 2015. And the reason I bring that up is, I think it's got to be really encouraging for the Golden Knights, is that I wonder if as a player, if you kind of have to find the comfort level in those kinds of games again. And by that I mean, I feel like most teams, why are comebacks so common? Teams kind of feel like, okay, you know what? We're down by 2, but we're going to have 4 or 5 more scoring chances. We're going to have our opportunities. You just got to hit them. In a game like yesterday, this is a Golden Knights team that is saying, okay, you know what? We might get one look. We might get one chance to knot this up. You can't miss that one chance, and they get it with Jonathan Marchessault off a brilliant feed from Jack Eichel, but it's a team that seemed really, really comfortable being patient and trusting that they were going to get that one look.
And all the comebacks prove that the team is comfortable. They've been in more one-goal games than almost everybody during the regular season. So this is how they've played. I think the way the goal was scored to tie the game with 2:22, 2-2 in Game 2, it was the fact that you can't just rely on scoring off the rush. Put the puck in, they forechecked, they came up with the turnover, and then the brilliance of Jack Eichel to do a shoulder check and peek where Marchessault might be, and Marchessault reading that and getting to the proper side as a right-handed shot, and a no-look backhand pass off the wall on the tape. Beautiful by Eichel, and then the finish up high by Marchessault. That's all the brilliant side. The other part of it had to do with, here's the turnover, and it's seal the boards, read it, react, get it done in clutch and crunch time. To me, it was about being willing to, even though there's only 2 minutes to go in the game roughly, we're not forcing it off the rush.
Yeah.
We're going to chip it in, put them under a little bit of pressure, make them make a mistake, and then make them pay with our skill.
And you can hear the frustration for those of you who are in our streaming audience. Thank you,
Yes.
Floyd, for getting that highlight up on the screen.
Nice.
After the game, if you followed any of the Dallas commentary, and you can see Ryan Suter, he bristled a little bit, understandably, on that sequence, because
20-year vet.
first there's the giveaway, and this is a controlled situation.
Right.
Onger stops it, paddles it to him. This is a controlled situation. It's a bad giveaway, and then he doesn't pick Marchessault up in front either.
Well, Marchessault, right-handed shot, goes behind him. Suter, left-handed stick, so he's playing to his strong side. It's the perfect storm, but it's the perfect pass because Eichel had checked before the puck came back. Like, took a peek right there for you streamers again. It's like he knew where the opportunity was going to be and delivered an unbelievable pass. Suter, he's, like I said, 20-year vet. He's had better moments, certainly, but it started with the pressure. It started with, you put a team under pressure. Heiskanen, first of all, it's like a bouncing puck, sloppy, like just a casual play more than sloppy leads to a game-time goal, and you have to be ready to strike. Marchessault was, and that was Barbashev. The whole line factored in on that goal.
And if we had the opportunity for truth serum, as again we saw a few looks at the goal there.
Yeah.
For Suter, it's like, well, that's a soft rim around the wall. He probably thinks Heiskanen is going to be there for him on the D-to-D.
He does, and then again you've got the whole thing, two lefties instead of lefty-righty. Heiskanen is not on his strong side, so he's slow to get there.
Yeah.
He's on his backhand to even when he gets there. So it was a confluence of a lot of things happening properly for the Golden Knights, but you have to be willing to do that in these playoffs, going back to the original point, especially now that you're in the conference final.
Barbashev hunts the puck, and Eichel, again, the awareness, and also a pass, even if he had a few more seconds, making that feed on the backhand, that's not something most players can do. And I think what's great, again, for the Golden Knights finding various different ways to win, and we've talked about depth throughout these playoffs. For the first two periods, you can make a good argument that the fourth line for the Golden Knights was their best line, and not by default. Like, they were creating chances and difficult to play against in the offensive zone. Teddy Bluger's been terrific.
Yeah, he sure has.
But this is a Golden Knights team that had 10 shots through the first two periods. Okay. That's the kind of game it was. It was a grinded out, look for your opportunities kind of game. But what's so encouraging, I think, is that Stone, Stevenson, Eichel, they've played like stars throughout this postseason. There are going to be games sometimes when it's just not a free-flowing game for them to create, and it's not going to be a conversation about, did Jack Eichel take over a period? The conversation is, in the 30 seconds or so that he had an opportunity to insert himself, did he do it? And that's what the stars of the VGK have done so well. In tight games where there's no room to breathe, when there's a window to take a breath, do you do something with it? And the Golden Knights Stars did that.
They've done it throughout the playoffs. Stone and Eichel leading the way with 15 points in the playoffs, and you've got Carlson and Stevenson leading with 7 goals. So it was interesting, and we'll hear from Coach and Mark Stone later in the show. But he talked about, so we've talked about this all year. They have found ways to win. Their depth has been the reason. Like, you start with the fourth line. You have to use your fourth line. They have to know what the role is for depth to matter. Mm-hmm. I'll go back to Edmonton. Everyone says, they rely on 2 guys, 3 or 4 guys. They have depth too. They just don't play them. So all that happens is you play 6 or 7 minutes as a fourth line guy in Edmonton. You're just giving the big guys a rest. It's like, let nothing bad happen. That permeates your thought process, and that's why Edmonton is stuck where they are right now. Conversely, since day one, Bruce Cassidy's come in here and said, our fourth line has to elevate so they can play 12 minutes. That has to be part of it, because then your star players play 18 and a half minutes. Part of that is the buy-in from your star players, and that has certainly been there. And then, as you said, Brian, it's not like quantity of opportunities, it's quality. When you get it, can you make a difference? And they've done that.
So, again, you mentioned depth. To get to the bottom, you got to get through the middle, too. And if you look at the Edmonton scenario, you've got the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's, of course. the Fogels and the Ryans had a pretty good series for Edmonton. The Nugent-Hopkins and the Canes did not. So it's, again, are you getting a four-line rotation you can trust?
McLeod was good, too.
McLeod was good, too.
Yeah, and then, like you said, you had a guy like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, over 100 points, albeit 59 points on the power play. Wow. And he'd never had more than 70. So you can't count on that, and they certainly couldn't count on that in the postseason, and it cost them. And the depth. And the other part of it is, Bruce Cassidy talked about the team being, he says, I've talked about them being imperfect, but we found ways to win. Different guys, different ways, different nights, all adds up to 10 playoff wins.
And imperfect can be good, because if you're perfect winning, that means when you're not perfect, you're not winning.
That's right.
It's there's a method to it. Now, we again talked about the tight margins and the Golden Knights, how they're finding ways, different ways, but consistently finding ways. And after Game 2, Jonathan Marchessault was up at the podium, spoke similarly about how they're finding a way in these tight margins. And here's what Jonathan Marchessault had to say.
Left side.
Ryan Clark, ESPN. Jonathan, when you look at what this team has done in overtime, what's it been about overtime in these playoffs that's allowed you to have success, but especially in a series like this where like the margins are so thin that you could be up 0-2, tied at 1-1, or down at 0-2?
Yeah, definitely they're tight games, and we know the kind of team Dallas was, and they're a team that always keeps it tight as well. So I just think that we're a veteran group. We know how to handle those situations, and we know that everybody's first shift is important and sets the momentum in the overtime. And lucky enough, Chandler's line was able to get those 2 overtime goals there. So we did it early in the overtime, and it just shows how much a relentless team that we are, and definitely fits in our identity as a team.
Third row in the middle.
Nice
Jonathan, Alan Stone with LVSportsBiz.com. As an original misfit, you kind of have a long view of the franchise in its 6 years, and I'm wondering, does this particular year kind of stand out as a little different in the sense that you guys are pulling out these razor-thin wins, really clutch plays? Is there something in your gut that tells you this year might be a little different than prior years?
This year we have the best team we ever had, I think. But not only on paper, we just have the way we play. I think that's the biggest thing. And we're playing good hockey right now. But, I mean, if you guys remember the first year, no one thought we were going to win against Winnipeg in semifinals, and we won. And we thought that we hit our stride there, and we won the first game in the final, and we lose 4 in a row. So there's so much more work to do. I don't want to think too far ahead. I think it's one of those things that kind of slip away from us that year. And I know that I learned from my mistakes from that year, and you want to take it one game at a time. I don't want to think too far. Right now my head is in Game 3 in Dallas, and we'll take it from there.
And that was Jonathan Marchessault after Game 2 win. He had the tying goal. Chandler Stephenson had the overtime winning goal. And I'll tell you what, it's the wisdom from Jonathan Marchessault. This is a team that very much feels, not just looks, not just says it, they feel like they're in the moment, and that's really helped them to have a methodical approach throughout this postseason.
Well, they've had such franchise success. 4 conference finals, but you've been to the Stanley Cup final. So that means you've lost a couple times.
Yeah,
right. So they they had the down 2 games, 4 straight against Colorado. Here we go, and then they've lost to Dallas and they've lost to Montreal, right? So they've had those moments where we're so close already after the misfit season, where the Jonathan Marchessault referenced, where he says, I maybe got ahead of myself. I learned from that experience, but it still didn't help you the next 2 times you were there. So I think they're very aware this time that, you know what, it doesn't matter. Collectively as a group, we know where we are, we know who we are, and we know that we haven't accomplished anything yet.
And also knowing that as well as they've played, and they've played very well, and they've gotten the job done, this is also a Dallas Stars team heading back in a 2-0 hole for Game 3, no question. But Pete DeBoer should feel very, very happy with what his team did through 2 games.
Sure.
I think against Winnipeg, we heard Rick Bonus's frustration, and there was some injuries that the Jets had to contend with as that series went along. The Oilers, we talked about where their deficiencies were, where a great power play became almost oh no, we're relying on this power play too much. through 2 games, I think Pete DeBoer can go into game 3 and say, hey, we should be trying to do a lot of the same things. Tweaks for sure, but there's a good basis for the Stars to work off of going to game 3.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to play any differently. I think the Dallas Stars, Pete DeBoer, that's about what they want to do, are capable of doing. Again, low event, get the puck to the net. Pavelski tries to deflect everything. Robertson down low. Rupe Hintz has been a revelation to those that had never heard of him, maybe even. What a great name. But he's a great player, truly. Miro Heiskanen didn't play well in one, was on the ice with his partner, as we showed you in game. So they have room to grow with their individual players maybe being a little bit better. But overall, I agree with you, Brian. They're not going to do much different.
If you told Pete DeBoer there were going to be 2 overtime games and he was going to get 2 goals from Jason Robertson, he was also going to get goals from Hintz and Ben and Heiskanen, he probably thinks he comes away with one of those.
At least one.
So, and all the more reason why the VGK had to be really happy about the 2-0 lead they have and the way they've played. Aiden Hill's a big part of that too, and we'll talk about that as the show goes along. But we are going to take a break right now. There's a lot of audio to get to you today. We've got Bruce Cassidy in our next segment. We're going to hear from Ivan Barbashev and Mark Stone as well. But first, a reminder, fans, that Golden Knights fans, we need your help in welcoming AFC Bournemouth to the Foley Entertainment Group, also known as the Cherries. AFC Bournemouth plays in the prestigious English Premier League, where they consistently take on some of the best football teams in the world. Show your support for the Cherries by catching their matches via stream on Peacock TV. Make sure to also visit the Arsenal at City National Arena and pick up some of your Bournemouth merch, including jerseys, scarves, flags, mini soccer balls, and lapel pins. To learn more and be a part of the club's exciting new era, make sure to visit afcb.co.uk, a couple of dots in there, afcb.co.uk, and up the Cherries. We'll hop out when we come back. Bruce Cassidy's audio from this morning on a Monday afternoon, nighttime at noon, here on Fox Sports Las Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights have made their return to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Make sure to stay updated by tuning into the all-new VGK Today podcast. Each episode of VGK Today will be hosted by a Golden Knights broadcaster that consists of recaps, previews, and interviews throughout the entirety of the team's journey in the 2023 postseason. New episodes are available every morning, so listen as you start your day. You can catch VGK Today by visiting your favorite podcast outlet. Justin Russo driving the bus on VGK Today and bringing you pearls of wisdom from, everyone in the VGK broadcasting stable, and lots of great storylines to talk through. Brian McCormack, Darren Eliot here with you on Nighttime at Noon. And before the team took off for Dallas earlier today, where Game 3 will be, Bruce Cassidy had a chance to step up to the microphone and give his thoughts on a very successful weekend. Here is head coach Bruce Cassidy.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Bruce, is there a stylistic difference that you've noticed between switching Teddy and Nick on that fourth line? Obviously, that line knows their role; they want to do it well. But when you've seen Teddy on that line, is there a stylistic difference that you like that line has brought?
I don't think so. Honestly, I think they both know that when the line's going well, they're hard to play against, and by that I mean they're physical, they're managing pucks, so they're on the forecheck a lot, solid defensively. And they're different players and different skill sets, but they have the same understanding of what they need to do, so if that makes any sense. So I haven't seen a whole lot. Nick's probably more of a puck possession guy because he's bigger and longer, so he can do that better than Teddy. But at the end of the day, Teddy finds a way to create his offense, and but most of all, check well. And they both, like I said, that's the understanding of what makes that line good, and to me, they're interchangeable.
NHL.com. Bruce, there's emotion in a series. There's certainly emotion after you win overtime games when you're up 2-0 in a series. What does experience do for you right now, and understand, and your guys, and understanding the situation, but also understanding, it's only halfway done? Yeah,
I think the previous series it was 1-1, and we had, I think in both those games against both Winnipeg and Edmonton, we had a poor game, and that's why it was 1-1. Yesterday, I didn't think we were on top of our game. The difference between yesterday and the losses we had earlier in the series against the other opponents is we were able to stick around for whatever reason. I think we recognized we weren't at our best, so let's not let it get too far away until we can get to our game, if we can ever get to our game, right? Sometimes you don't. I thought we did in the third. We did a good job starting to get through, and a little bit is that Dallas is probably not as aggressive. They're trying to protect the lead, and I think that's where our experience came in, all right? Don't let it completely get away from you here. We're not at our best. I think we all acknowledge that and trying to, reinforce the positives, which weren't a lot, I guess, offensively the other day, and but how we can get to our game from previous games in this year's playoffs. I don't want to go too far back because it's a different group, but at the end of the day, now you're up 2-0, and it's still one game at a time. Our goal is to get 11 wins now, right, in the playoffs, and we're at 10. So let's focus on that going into Dallas. They got a really good home record. They're going to be, obviously, you're upset when you're that close and you don't win, so they're going to have a real sense of urgency going back there. So for us, it's one game at a time and get to our game in a hurry. I know it's cliche, but that's what it is this time of year. You got to get to your game and stay at it longer. So I think early in my career, I remember my first playoff series ever. I was in Washington. We were up 2-0 against Tampa, and we lost the next 4. So for me, I know how quickly it can change, and I'm sure these guys in the room have been through some of those types of experiences. So for me, we've won nothing. We've got a 2-0 lead, but as you said, we're halfway there. That's it. So we know we have to be a lot better, because you need to get better throughout the series, or you don't advance. And I said we weren't on top of our game in Game 2, but we were good enough to find a way to win, and that's been our team this year a little bit. We've been, I think I've used the word imperfect a lot, because we are, but we find ways to stay in the game and win, and that's a credit to the guys, and that's what I think has made us who we are this year.
Hey Bruce, Gary Lawless, Vegas Golden Knights. What did they do in the neutral zone yesterday, and how do you counter it?
They were still in their 1-2-2 for the most part. They'll get aggressive going on D to Ds with certain guys, but at the end of the day, they just have numbers there. And if you have numbers and you're taking good angles and have good sticks, then you have to be pretty clean getting through there, and we weren't. I thought we slowed the game down, especially in the second period in there. The night before, we were quick, we were stretching them out, catching them in between, and we were able to attack. Whether it results in goals or not, it results in them having to break pucks out and you wear them down. So I don't know if their game changed as much as maybe our lack of execution fed into their game. And some of that's a credit to them for being in the right spots and checking well. Some of it was on us. Like I said, I don't think, you look at the overtime goal, I know it's a simple play, but Naber is under pressure, but he moves the puck north, right? And now we got guys supporting the puck and all of a sudden skating off the puck, and now we're attacking. I thought we did that very well game one, not so much in game two. But second periods, I've said all year, if you get on the wrong side of that momentum, it can be a three-quarter ice game for you or against you, because you're constantly getting it out and changing, and it's a long change. So that's what I thought. We were on the wrong side of it in the second period, and it showed. We didn't generate much.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Before the playoffs, you mentioned that going on the road, the way that you guys played on the road this year, could definitely translate to the playoffs. And is the way that you guys have played as far as complete games on the road, I think probably with the exception of Game 3 in Winnipeg, is that even more confidence that you guys can go up there and play a strong
Yeah,
game?
I think our guys feel good. We've played well on the road all year, and we kind of talked about that. I think it's because we use everybody. We're 4 lines, 6D. We're not chasing matchups. We're not worried about hiding anybody. So we just play. The guys know they're going over the boards. Experience group in their room knowing that it's going to be loud, all those things. You just got to play through it and use it to your advantage actually in the playoffs. I mean, it was really loud in Winnipeg and Edmonton. I thought it helps us too as well if you think about it that way. So that's our mindset right now, and we got to be ready to counter aggression early, and usually that is by moving pucks and executing and being clean and supporting pucks so that they don't have a chance to get those big hits on your D and play behind you the whole first period, so that the crowd gets into it. Like, put them on their heels a little bit is what we've tried to do. Didn't always work. I think the game, and it was at Game 4 in Edmonton, they were on top of us in a hurry. We didn't, and we were chasing the game the whole time. So that's what we got to be mindful of.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Bruce, I know you gave up one yesterday, but the penalty kill the last 6 games has looked significantly better. I mean, from the outside, from you, are you comfortable where it is right now? And
yeah.
What do you feel about it?
I thought we were pretty good on it. I mean, I think that the first goal was a little bit of product, or their power play goal was, we had a clear opportunity and we went back with it, and that was our second period. We were not playing direct and getting pucks up ice. You want help on a clear sometimes when you're on your forehand. I think if we had to do it over again, we just pounded the puck out, they keep it in, all of a sudden it's in our net. So I think that's correctable. And I think we have corrected a lot of things along the way. We've been more aggressive when we need to be, appropriate pressure. And we weren't doing that as much early. Now, some of that's Edmonton, right? They move it so quick and they're so dynamic, but Dallas is a little more predictable in what they're going to do. We feel they're good at it. They still have a very good power play, but it's more to the net, outstick you at the net. So for us, we've tried to really keep one of our forwards, make sure they're recovering back to the net, so we're even in numbers there, and hopefully we rebound the puck. So it's worked out well for us for the most part. Like I said, they found a loose puck yesterday, buried it, and they're going to do that sometimes. So that's how we feel about our kill. It's a lot better than it was early in the playoffs.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com. Bruce, I think the Marchessault's goal yesterday, and we talk about their neutral zone, right, and how they're really good in it. But the forecheck that you guys had on that goal, it wasn't driving Suter into the boards, but it was Jack with the stick, Marchessault covering the wall. He's got to go the other way. Is that sort of a thing that you guys can always fall back on? Like, if they're clogging it up in the neutral zone, get it in, skate on the forecheck.
But we have to fall back on that. If we don't, it's what the second period looks like and some of the first. So I think our guys understand that and got to it in the third, right? They didn't try to force a lot of plays. We got through there a couple times with some skill. I think Jack one time, but for the most part, you have to go around it and then create your turnover behind the goal line in those areas. And we've been good at that in this playoff. So I'm glad the guys recognized it in the third. We didn't stay stubborn for another 20 minutes. we pre-scout. We have a good idea how Dallas is going to break the puck out, so our guys stuck to their routes, and good for them. Now, they'll say, well, maybe there's miscommunication between Suter and Heiskanen on the first pass, but that's going to happen if you put teams under pressure enough times, and that's exactly what happened, and we're able to recover the puck. Now you got a chance to play with it. We happen to make a bang-bang play. That's just, a real elite mind in Jack and Marsh going to the right spot. So, we scored quick, but other times you just got to get possession now and play in their zone, and that's when we're at our best. We play that way. Even though we're a good line rush team, we saw it on the winning goal. For the most part in this playoffs, we've been at our best when we've used 4 lines behind them, create your turnover. And as a coach, Dan, you're so happy to see a score a goal like that, because that's what you're kind of preaching, and when it works for you, it's easier to sell. It's harder work than probably scoring off the rush, but that's what's required.
2 more in front.
Alan Snell, LVSportsBiz.com. Hey, Bruce, I think in the Edmonton series, you expressed some of your most disappointment when, I think it was your term, the team didn't show the proper teammateness and competitive spirit.
I think I made up a word there, unfortunately, but you know where I was going with it, I think.
It was a good word. And I'm wondering, in Game 3, you have a team that's won 2 overtime wins. You're playing a team against their back is against the wall. What kind of proactive or preemptive kind of strategy do you use to make sure that the team will have that level of competitive spirit that obviously Dallas will have with their back against the wall?
Well, we'll talk about, as we said, we've won 2 games. That doesn't mean you win a series, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. I heard Marshy say it after the game, so right away the players are already talking about it. So they've been here. If you look at the Vegas Golden Knights history, they've been here, and they didn't get through Dallas one year, and I think it was Montreal the other year. So they know it better than I do, what's required. So I don't know if I have to say much there. I certainly don't have to remind them. For us, it's about, okay, what did we do the other day that got us in trouble, and what did we do to get out of trouble and play better? So I'm looking at it, for me, more as X's and O's or adjustments or reiterating what we need to do well, more than about the emotion of the moment and all that. I think our guys understand that because they've lived it recently.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Brossoit or Thompson, are they traveling or no?
Brossoit, no. Thompson, no. I don't believe he's traveling. It'll be Patera would be our 3rd goalie.
And that was Bruce Cassidy from this morning, and a very insightful 10 minutes or so, but a lot of discussion about pressure and almost a matter of, as I heard it, picking your battles. If the skill game's not there, put the puck in a position to make them make the hard decisions, and it's something that the Golden Knights did a much better job in the 3rd period in Game 2.
They've been good at it all year, and it's something that maybe the team was a little stubborn early on in the season, wanting to be a rush team. But what comes first? Do you soften them up by putting pucks behind them, forechecking? Then you have defense who are turning and going back a little bit quicker. Guess what that opens up? Space at the blue line, so you can attack on the rush, and you're able to find space between the blue line and the tops of the circle. So, when you can't get to that, when they use the term lots, get to your game. Getting to your game is having that balance between putting pucks deep and cycling and getting offensive chances that way, and then being able to have all 5 guys coming up the ice through the neutral zone together.
Like we talked about earlier. Okay, guys, the 5-4 game, it's not going to happen today. It's going to be the 2-2 game. Act appropriately.
Exactly.
And the Golden Knights got to that in the 3rd period. We're going to hop out again. Again, there's a lot of sound to get to, including Ivan Barbashev and Mark Stone from earlier today. We're going to give it to you when we come back on Nighttime at noon. Brian McCormack, Darren Eliot here with you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Back on Nighttime at Noon at Studio 31 at State National Arena. Brian McCormack, Darren Eliot here with you. You know, folks, as the Golden Knights make their push for their first Stanley Cup championship, we are all out to unite the realm. But we can't unite the realm if you're sitting at home on your couch. We need to be together. So there's two solutions. We're either going to send everyone to your house, which seems a little bit impractical, or you can come out with fellow medieval maniacs for the Game 3 watch party for Tuesday's Game 3, puck drop at 5 p.m. We're all going to be gathered at the Lawn at downtown Summerlin, located off of Festival Plaza Drive in Las Vegas. That will be the official Golden Knights watch party for Game 3. Again, puck drop is at 5. The fun starts at 4 p.m. The Lawn at downtown Summerlin. Come on down and watch the Golden Knights push for a 3-0 series lead over the Dallas Stars. Will you? Are you an outdoor watch party guy, Darren, or an indoor watch party guy? Or does it not matter?
It doesn't really matter as long as they're serving beer.
That's fair. See, I don't mind the outside ones because I spend enough time inside in the hockey rinks that it's almost June and I'm see-through, so I should do the outside one. But that's going to be a lot of fun. The Lawn at downtown Summerlin. Hope you will come down and join us. Like we said, lots of sound as we get ready for Game 3 tomorrow. We heard from Bruce Cassidy already. We also heard earlier today from Mark Stone and Ivan Barbashev. Let's get to that.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Mark, what have you learned the most about your line over the last couple of rounds? Obviously, coming back, you've obviously had chemistry with Chandler, and you played with Brett a little bit. Just watching those two throughout the playoffs, what have you learned most about them?
I mean, I like our depth as a team in general. So, usually the way we play, not only as a line but as a team, somebody's getting a pretty good matchup usually. So, sometimes that's us on nights, sometimes that's others on other nights. So. Yeah, guys have stepped up at different times. Fortunately, our line's done it the last two overtime games, but yeah, I just like the way the team's playing. 4 lines deep, 6 D-men.
Right side and back. Ivan, tell us a little bit about the way Jack Eichel's playing and what you've learned about him since you got here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing really well. I really enjoyed playing with him since I got here, and I think the one thing I was really impressed about him is his defensive play. Because I've never seen him play quite a lot, to be honest. We would usually play just maybe twice a year against him, but just since I came here, just seeing him playing every game, like it's been special. He's a big part of this team, and he's done a really good job defensively and offensively.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com. Mark, Bruce was just in here talking about the last 2 rounds. You guys were 1-1, and you lost one game probably because you didn't play near your best. And if Marchessault doesn't score yesterday, you're probably saying the same thing right now. Up 2-0 after that game, how does experience kind of play into your mindset and understanding where you guys are at right now, and also understanding how you got a win yesterday too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we played maybe that up-tempo game we like to play. Maybe there's a little bit of frustration at times, but I didn't think we got overly frustrated throughout the game. They played a pretty perfect defensive style there in the third, but I think we started to push pretty well, and I kind of got them on their heels late in the third period, and we get the big goal, and that kind of carried a little bit of momentum into overtime. I thought we did a good job. Obviously got a huge save from Aiden early in overtime, but yeah, we just found a way to stick with the program, and we got to do the same thing going into Dallas. We know that their crowd's going to be amped up. They're going to try and push the pace early, and we got to match that, if not try and take it a little step further.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas UV Journal. Mark, since Game 3 of the Edmonton series, the penalty kills looked significantly better. A lot of adjustments you guys made. I know you gave up one yesterday, but how how much confidence do you guys feel in that unit right now, and how do you feel you guys are playing?
Yeah, I think a lot of our coaching staff has said the numbers probably don't look that great, but we had some big kills in the Edmonton series, especially against the best power play I think ever. That gave us momentum. So yeah, we've carried that into here, but yeah, it's only been 2 games, and I think discipline's been big for us all season. We're only killing 1 or 2 or 3. It's easier to be good on the kill. When you're giving up 5, 6, that's when things starts to stress a little bit more. But definitely, the team's got a lot of confidence right now, killing off penalties.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Ivan, when you got here, obviously this team was a very good road team, and then that's translated well into the playoffs with the way that you guys have played on, not just more so that you're winning on the road, but it's more complete games. Is that kind of what Mark alluded to, the confidence that you guys also can go into Dallas knowing how well you played on the road?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think every game we've been playing in playoffs, and I can see in the team that this team wants to win, and I think this is something really important for us. And especially, getting a 2-0 lead, in a series, and then going to Dallas. We all know it's going to be pretty tough to play there. It's a really good building to play at, and especially when one of the teams goes down 2-0 in a series, they will have to give you the best game they can. But I think it's going to be up to us to push back and find the game the way we want to play as early as possible.
Alan Sell of esportsbiz.com. This is from Mark. You've been through 2 semifinals with the Dallas in the bubble and Montreal. I'm wondering, they both ended up with losses, and I'm just curious as captain, what is the message, what is the mindset that you want to create to push through this time so it doesn't repeat last couple of times?
I don't know. I don't know if my message is any different than anybody else. Since bubble we've added Stanley Cup champions, meaning we had Ivan, who's been through it before, Petro, Marty's won cups, Quickie's won cups. A lot of guys that have won. Their experience has helped not just the team, but with some individuals. So I don't think there's just one guy that's sending the message. We got a lot of guys in that room that know what it takes and know that this, being up 2-0, this series is still far from over. Like Ivan said, they're going to probably bring their best game in Game 3. So if we don't do the same, we're not going to like the results. So obviously we're going to go over some things that we need to be better in and try and take our game to another level.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas Free Journal. Mark, I know Jonathan doesn't do anything quietly, but Mark Chassel always, seems to score the loud goal and let everybody know about it. You guys just kind of expect it now in big moments when he's going to kind of rise up?
Well, he just scores. He's scored goals his whole life. He scores goals in practice. He just scores goals. So I don't know. It's just I don't know if it matters when he scores them. Fortunately for us, he scored at the most opportune time over the last week or so. If you give him a chance, we like our chances that he's going to put it in the back of the net, and he's done that over the last couple of weeks.
2 more questions.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com. Ivan, does this team remind you of the 2019 Blues team at all, with the way you guys play, the size on the back end? Bit of an unknown in net and finding ways.
Yeah, it does. To be honest, I was actually thinking about yesterday after the game. I see a lot of similar things. But I think first of all, it's this team wants to win, and every night we play, there's always somebody else who's gonna step up. You've seen in this playoffs, especially going into overtimes, you had Mario score a goal, then Howard, and then Stevie. It's always somebody else who's gonna step up, and I think the way we've been playing, we're really trying to make it hard for the other team to play against us, and especially in our building. And this is something, I go back in 2019, and I'm kind of seeing the same thing.
Last question.
Steven Marsh, Time Hockey West. Mark, as you mentioned, 2-0 series lead. Series is not over. You guys were down 2-0 in a series a couple of years ago and came back and beat the Colorado Avalanche. So how much can you lean on that experience being on this side of it to try to avoid it happening to you guys now as you're up 2-0 going into Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're really thinking about that. We're looking at Game 3 right now. We know we're going to be playing a desperate hockey team, so we got to match that desperation. Like I said, we got guys who've been through this before, guys who have won. Got to rely on that kind of leadership and stick to what we do best, what we know best. Try and get to our game as quickly as we can in Dallas to get things off on the right track.
That was Mark Stone and Ivan Barbashev from earlier today. I'll tell you what, I think it was Dan Rosen who asked from NHL.com, but the 2019 St. Louis comparison, that's a fascinating one.
It was, and you're asking the right guy.
Yeah.
Barbashev was part of that team.
You can ask Bruce Cassidy from the other side of that perspective, perhaps.
Exactly. And, it was interesting because Barbashev said, actually, just yesterday, I was thinking along those lines. And from his perspective, lots of similarities, and that's a good thing because they won.
Yeah. And one of the unique aspects of that 2019 team was goaltending with Jordan Binnington. Not a direct parallel now with the Golden Knights have with Adin Hill, but still a spectacular run Adin Hill's having. We're going to talk about that when we come back in our final segment of Nighttime at Noon. But first, just a reminder, fans, that the Vegas Nighthawks have won back-to-back games, and they are now back to 500 and right in the thick of the IFL Western Conference playoff race. Become part of the Nighthawks family. Don't miss out on the action at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson. Full season membership starts just $15 per ticket per game. For more information about tickets, venue, parking, and more, visit nighthawksfootball.com. nighthawksfootball.com. One segment to go on a Monday afternoon. We'll be back in just a moment. Along with Darren Eliot, I'm Brian McCormack. This is Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Wrapping things up on a Monday afternoon, Golden Knights fans, it is important that you remember that when you're at City National Arena, there's a great spot to grab a bite upstairs. Come and stop by Mackenzie River Pizza, Grill, and Pub and eat like a Golden Knight. Open every day from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fans can dine in and catch their favorite games right by the rink. Call 702-916-2999. That's 702-916-2999. Or visit MackenzieRiverPizza.com and learn more today. I would recommend that you go there for Game 3 tomorrow, and you can if that's your best
Like you asked
option.
before, unofficial watch parties, it's always open. It's a great place to watch the game.
If you want to do it inside, that's the place to do it. If you want to do it outside, maybe a few more kindred spirits, you head down to the lawn at downtown Summerlin for a 4 o'clock open gate rope drop, if you will, for the official watch party for Game 3. Puck drop will be at 5 p.m. Hope we will see you down at the lawn at downtown Summerlin. As we get ready for Game 3, Golden Knights in the driver's seat. They have a 2-0 series lead over the Dallas Stars. Florida Panthers are headed home with a 2-0 lead of their own after back-to-back overtime winners courtesy of Matthew Tkachuk. Before we get to that broad view, real quick, we've not talked about it yet. Aiden Hill, the job he's done coming in. Now, it shouldn't be a huge surprise because he was a goaltender right there with Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson, I think we could say, ultimately won the 1A starter's job, but Aiden Hill, highly trusted, highly utilized throughout the season. Injuries made things a little bit of a creative shuffle going into the postseason, but nonetheless, you have the Golden Knights going in to the conference final using the third goalie that they've reached on their depth chart now organizationally, and he has been absolutely spectacular and a reason that the Golden Knights are winning close games.
Very much so, and he was recommended to management with goaltender coach Sean Burke had worked with him. And it's a big goalie, just like Sean Burke was. He's got him to be a little more patient, a little more calm in the crease. He's come in and done a great job. The great unknown was he's never really had playoff experience. Never mind the other stuff that you mentioned this season with injuries and stuff like that. But it's interesting that we're talking about the goaltending as a third or fourth point, right? That's kind of been the case all season with this team. Good enough, solid, dependable inside the system, if you will. He's still got to make the saves. He made a fantastic save in overtime.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Marchessault.
Wyatt Johnson, I think.
That's right. On a turnover off the end wall, right in front, bang, bang, play. He makes the save before Marchessault becomes the hero. So Aiden Hill has done exactly what you would hope to do as an athlete, as a fan base, and as teammates. And you're quite right. He had a good resume this season. He really solidified himself with Logan Thompson as a good 1-2 tandem.
I think it's just, it's been spoken about, but I hope there's appreciation for it just because I think we've gotten so accustomed to a goaltending carousel in Vegas throughout the years and just, next man up, that's what you do. No. If you zoom out, this is unusual, and it's the fact that it's so relied upon and dependable and matter of fact, I think is what I find so amazing.
They had 5 goaltenders win games, including Yuri Patera this year. I mean, that usually that means a disaster of a season, and not a season where you're hoping and only 6 wins away from the Stanley Cup.
Well, the Golden Knights banging on all cylinders as they head into Game 3. That'll be again tomorrow afternoon, 5 o'clock puck drop. The watch party at the lawn in downtown Summerlin starts at 4. And tonight we'll have at 5 p.m. Game 3 in Sunrise as the Florida Panthers look to take a 3-0 lead over the Carolina Hurricanes in that series. That game will be on TNT. I'm Brian McCormack. He's Darren Eliot. Darren, thanks for stopping. This was fun today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good seeing you.
Ready to lock in for Game 3 tonight. I've been watching too much hockey, but it ain't going to stop now. This has been Nighttime at Noon. Thanks for joining us. Tune in for the VGK Insiders Show at 4 o'clock this afternoon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Take care, everybody. Have a great afternoon.